Gary Green of the law offices of Gary Green is in today. We're going to talk a little bit about something you see on TV, you've heard in the news, the litigation with Roundup or glyphosate, I guess is the chemical in that. And so what's going on with all of these lawsuits now?
You know, we talked in a previous program about watching for trends and how to be safe and conduct our lives. And I've thought more about this Roundup, and it's very serious.
Yeah.
We've had 3 multi-million-dollar verdicts within the last year. Bayer is now facing a trend, and they're either going to have to buck a trend or they're going to have to settle the cases and go forward with warnings about this stuff causes cancer. And it's interesting to me to note that the judges who have looked at these cases, the California case that brought in a $2 billion verdict, and the judge who reduced it to $80 million, they didn't say that they didn't believe the science. They didn't say that they didn't respect the jury's finding. They said that they thought that maybe the amount was a little too much. So we've got a product that for many years there have been studies, there have been conflicting studies, but there have been studies saying that it causes cancer. It causes some leukemias, it causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when used with large amounts. So the people that the plaintiff's lawyers were looking to bring in the first cases were people who had worked on a golf course or who had worked in the farming industry with the flights and all. Large amounts every day. Every day. Generally, yeah. And I think that what it's going to come down to is it's going to be, the schematic is going to be anyone who has a cancer who is linked to Roundup and has any documented use. The screening will be not so strict, in my opinion, as this develops. So I think that what that can tell us, obviously, is if you've had one of those cancers, your doctor relates it, seek representation, but probably more importantly to most of us is realize the stuff is dangerous. Put it on the top shelf. If you use it, wear gloves, wear a mask, wear protective clothing. It's a dangerous chemical that has become kind of like our cell phones. It's out there, they're out there, it's convenient. We've become accustomed to it, and some of us don't want to give it up. And of course, there are others of us who now are making the decision, do I buy that organic stuff and pay more money for it at the grocery store, or do I buy the stuff that's been sprayed with the Roundup? And it's going to be a big question for everybody.
You kind of use the old adage, where there's smoke, there's fire, and you do see fire because there's so much smoke, right?
I think that 3 multi-million-dollar lawsuits in a row is fire.
Definitely. And I think a lot of us, we see the commercials and they talk about landscapers or agri, and we're thinking, well, I just get a bottle and spray my azaleas, you know, to get the weeds. So, I mean, how should we feel about it then?
Well, I think it comes down to the protective clothing, the washing with soap after you use it, if you're going to use it. I mean, obviously, for small scale stuff, it's better to dig the weeds up by the roots than it is to spray them. But I understand farmers having to use it. But be careful. Make sure that everybody who's in your charge knows about gearing up and being careful.
I think we're all knowing that now. So, and this may also come down to, what did the companies know and when did they know it? Is that going to be part of this going forward?
It's going to be like Watergate. What did Monsanto know in the 70s and 80s? And what does Bayer know now that they've bought Monsanto and they've seen these 3 lawsuits? And, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that might have had something to do with the sale of Monsanto to Bayer. You know.
Not necessarily the problem, but their cover-up, which was the Watergate problem. Exactly. Any other litigation trends right now we need to be aware of?
Oh, the earplugs, the military earplugs. We're still seeing a lot of calls on that, still able to help people on that.
Okay.
Those and the Monsanto are the main mass torts right now.
The two big ones out there. All right. Well, if you have any questions about this, if someone has been diagnosed with cancer, and even if you're not in the industry that you mentioned, you might want to check with your doctor as well as with some legal advice. So here it is on the screen, ggreen at ggreen.com, and both numbers locally and outside of the Little Rock area, long distance. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Rhonda.
We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Okay. Up next, more about the 2019 Limeades for